Привет, друзья! Welcome back to Be Fluent in Russian podcast. Today, we truly have a gem on our hands. It's a poem by Brodsky, titled «Подражая Некрасову» или «Любовная песнь Иванова». Now, this one is a huge one. It's long. It's 4 lines. So, how many lines do we have? 16, 32, 39. 39 lines. And this one was written in 1968. And it has a lot of slang. And it has a bit of one kind of a curse word. And then a few kind of inappropriate language words. And one sexual scene here. So it's a great one. It's a great poem because it's written about something super real. And unlike in other poems that we have covered so far, this one is just like a guy telling his story. Not the author himself, but he is acting as if he's a character. Here we go. Каждый раз на этом самом месте я вспоминаю о своей невесте. Вхожу в шалман, заказываю 200. Река бежит у ног моих, зараза. Я говорю им мысленно: бежи. Глазу слеза, но вижу краем глаза литейный мост и силуэт баржи. Моя невеста полюбила друга. Я как узнал, то чуть их не убил. Но кодекс строг. И в чем моя заслуга, что выдержал характер. Правда, пил. Я пил как рыба. Если б с комбината не выгнали, то сгнил бы на корню. Когда я вижу будку автомата, то я вхожу и иногда звоню. Подходит друг. И мы базлаем с другом. Он говорит мне: «Как ты, Иванов?» А как я? Я молчу. И он с испугом: «Зайди!» — кричит. «Взглянуть на пацанов». Их мог бы сделать я ей, но на деле их сделал он. И точка, и тире. И я кричу в ответ: «На той неделе!» Но той недели нет в календаре. Рука, где я держу теперь полбанки, сжимала ей сквозь платье буфера и прочее в углу на атаманке. Такое впечатление, что вчера маслы, переполняющие брюки, валялись на кровати, все в шерсти, и горло хочет громко крикнуть «суки!», но почему-то говорит «прости». За что? Кого? Когда я слышу чаек, то резкий крик меня бросает в дрожь. Такой же звук, когда она кончает. Хотя потом еще мычит: не трожь. Я знал ее такой, а раньше целой. Но жизнь летит, забыв про тормоза. Я возьму еще бутылку белой. Она на цвет, как у нее глаза. That is all. Very strong, and I tried to kind of read it as I'm playing this character. Hope I've succeeded. Let's break it down. We won't be breaking down every single line, kind of dissecting it because it's a long one. So let's just keep it short, but still precise and still useful for all of you guys as learners. Каждый раз на этом самом месте. Another time on this exact spot. Каждый is an old word, is not used anymore. Каждый, it's like another one, but doesn't really have any applications. If you were to say каждый to a Russian right now, he wouldn't understand you. На этом самом месте. On this exact spot. На этом месте means on this spot, на этом самом месте, on this exact spot. Я вспоминаю о своей невесте. I remember my bride or my fiancé. Okay? So, вспоминаю is I remember. Вспомнить is when a memory comes to your head and it reemerges in your head. To remember in English has multiple meanings, but in Russian it's broken down into multiple. And вспомнить means to remember when a memory arises. Not like to keep the memory strong, to remember words, to remember a number. No, that's not the meaning of it. It's more so when you get the memory back into your consciousness all of a sudden. Вхожу в шалман. I'm entering this pub. Шалман is like an area where you drink. It's like a bar, but a really low-class bar. Шалман, in fact, I had to translate this before I started the podcast because I didn't know this word myself. So maybe it's more like a slangish of maybe St. Petersburg, Moscow areas, because we don't really have as much of those places, like drinking places in Novosibirsk. Maybe that's more like a regional slang. Заказываю 200, and I'm ordering 200. 200 milliliters, probably whiskey or vodka or something. I'm probably thinking vodka, but in any case, strong alcohol. And 200 grams is like 4 shots. So it's a big amount. Река бежит у ног моих, зараза. The river is flowing by my feet. Зараза means damn you. Зараза really means like sickness or plague. But when you're calling something зараза, it's typically like, oh, this darn thing. Я говорю ей мысленно, бежи. And I tell it in my head, go ahead and run. So, you know how the river flows? We say, река бежит. The river runs. So, in the first sentence, he says, река бежит у ног моих. The river flows by my feet. But it really means runs. And then he says, я говорю ей мысленно, бежи. And I tell the river in my head, go ahead and flow, go ahead and run. So imagine you sitting somewhere, right? And there's a river by your feet. First of all, it's a very sad kind of a thing. He just went into a bar, got 200 grams, probably drank it already, so he went on a walk. And he's by the river by himself, when the river flows, by his feet. First of all, it's probably cold. Rivers are typically cold. And so you have this cold river, and maybe it's by your feet, so you might get sick. So you kind of this feeling of melancholy and sadness overtakes, and this picture of sadness. And when you're by the river, right, he's by the river, but his focus is at his feet. So he's looking down. Imagine you're by the river, right, but you're looking down. You're not looking into the distance where you're kind of more dreaming, right? Like, oh, okay, I'm looking in the distance and I'm maybe thinking about something deep, something. You're hopeful. When you look out, you look hopeful, and you probably feel hopeful too. But when you're looking down, this silhouette of hopelessness kind of. And then I tell the river, go ahead and flow. So things are happening and I'm in my head just like, oh, whatever, I don't care. The river is by my feet. I might get sick, but I tell the river, go ahead and flow. I don't care. В глазу слеза. In my eye, there is a tear. So I'm looking down. There's a river and I'm crying. Kind of. Но вижу краем глаза, but in the corner of my eye, I see литейный мост и силуэт баржи. I see the bridge, and I see the баржа is a boat, a big ship of just goods. It's not a pedestrian, so not pedestrian. It's not a commercial boat, but with containers on it, so it's a boat for goods. So he's looking in the river. On the right side, somewhere there's a dock or port with goods. And then he hits us with this. So he painted this picture. He sat, got 200, thinking about his fiancée, river, sadness. Моя невеста полюбила друга. My fiancé fell in love with my friend. Okay? He doesn't say моя невеста, says my fiancé, but полюбила, fell in love, друга. He doesn't say my friend. He just says a friend. But in Russian, that's applied that it's your friend, not her friend. Я как узнал, as soon as I found out. Узнать means to find out. Как узнал, as soon as I found out. Because как is a shorter version of как только. Как только means as the moment happened. So, but как and как только means as soon as. тот чуть их не убил. Чуть их не убил. Чуть не means almost didn't do something. Or I almost did something, but I didn't. Чуть не упал. I almost fell. Чуть не отправил. Almost sent it. But you didn't. You were on the brink of doing something. But here, чуть не убил almost killed them. As soon as I found out that they love each other, I almost killed them both. То чуть их не убил. Но кодекс строг. But the code is strict. I'm thinking criminal code. И в чем моя заслуга, and what the one positive thing that I have about myself, заслуга is when you earn something. It's when you deserve something, when you work for something, then you achieve that. So, and what is my achievement? Что выдержал характер. That my character was strong enough to withhold it, to sustain this, withstand this. Not I brought two verbs in English: withhold, sustain, but I wanted to say withstand. Both of those combined. So, and one achievement that I have is that my character withstood this event. Правда пил, but in fact, I was drinking. Правда here means truth, but it's when you do something, right? But on the other hand, I was drinking. Правда, well, in fact, or on the other hand. Правда, as you can see, means truth, but it has a different meaning of, but in fact, I also was drinking. So my character withstood this event, but I was just drinking. Я пил как рыба. I was drinking like a fish. Если б с комбината не выгнали, and if I didn't get fired from a combine or like a factory, meaning if I didn't get let go of, if I wasn't fired, то сгнил бы на корню. Then I'll get rotten right then and there. Когда я вижу будку автомата, and when I see the phone booth, будка автомата. Будка means booth, автомата means automatic, but it's probably будка автоматного телефона, maybe like a booth of an automatic phone. You know the phone booths that used to be prevalent back in the day before the cell phones. You come in on the street and then you call somebody in there. I actually, in fact, used it a few times before I had a phone too. То я вхожу и иногда звоню. Then I enter that booth and sometimes I call. Who does he call? I'm not sure. Maybe he calls her. He calls them. Because he's still sad about it. Maybe. I'm not sure. Подходит друг. And then my friend comes up to me. That exact friend. И мы базлаем с другом. And we are talking, chatting with the friend. Базлать is a slang for talk. And it's not so common anymore. Maybe a person would understand what you mean within a given context. To just chat, to yap about something. И мы базлаем с другом, and we are yapping with a friend. Он говорит мне, he tells me, как ты, Иванов? How are you? Ivanov, meaning his last name. What's up with you? А как я? And how am I? Я молчу. I'm quiet. I'm silent. So he turns this, как ты? How are you? А как я? But how am I? You took my fiancé away from me. How do you think I am? How do you think I'm doing? Я молчу. I'm quiet. I'm silent. I'm staying quiet. И он с испугом, and he, with fear, зайди, кричит. Come in, he screams at me. Maybe they were on the opposite sides of the street. So he screams, come in. Взглянуть на пацанов. To take a look at the boys. At the boys that they now have together. Их мог бы сделать я ей. I could have made them for her. Meaning, I could have made the boys for her. Meaning, of course, as a husband, you make the kids, you do something. Of course, we don't say сделать. Sometimes we say сделать детей, to make kids, but not so frequently. It's more like a slangish way to talk about kids. So, I could have made the kids for her. Но на деле, but in fact, их сделал он. He made them. He made those kids. И точка, и тире. Period, end of story. И точка means end of the period. И тире means dash. It's like period blank. That's it. End of story. И я кричу в ответ на той неделе. And I'm screaming as a response next week. Но той недели нет в календаре. But there is no next week in the calendar. Maybe it's the last week of the month. So he just kind of saying, oh yeah, I'll come by next week, knowing darn well that he's not gonna come. And then he switches. The conversation is over with the friend. Рука, где я держу теперь полбанки. The hand where I'm holding half a bottle now. Here comes the slang part. Сжимала ей сквозь платье буфера. Was squeezing her boobs through the dress. So сквозь платье means through the dress. Okay? So she was wearing a dress and he was squeezing her breasts through the dress. Not like under, but over it. Буфера here is a slang for breasts, women breasts. И прочее, and other things. So my hand was squeezing her boobs and other things as well. В углу на оттаманке. In a corner on a like an ottoman chair. Такое впечатление, it seems like, что вчера, as if it was yesterday. Впечатление means an impression. I have an impression that it was yesterday. It seems like it was yesterday. Маслы, переполняющие брюки. Маслы is bones, is a very biological term. I also had to look it up as well. I didn't know this. But it's the waist bones. I'm not sure what they call it in English. Переполняющие брюки, that were squeezing the pants to the sides, like, you know, just big waist bones, I guess. Валялись на кровати, were laying on the bed. Все в шерсти, all in the fur, maybe of a cat or something, I don't know. И горло хочет громко крикнуть суки. And my throat wants to scream loudly, суки, pardon my English, bitches. All those, not like, of course, describing women, no, but suki is also describing just people who are like assholes. Assholes. Or they've done me dirty. Суки, both of them. Но почему-то говорит прости. Но почему-то, but for some reason, говорит прости. I want to scream, you bitches. But I say sorry. За что? For what? Кого? Whom? Like, прости means forgive, but who should I forgive? Another sexual kind of part continues. Когда я слышу чаек, when I hear seagulls, right, the screaming, то резкий крик меня бросает в дрожь. Then this sharp noise makes me kind of, not cringe, but what is it called? Makes me angry or makes me feel annoyed. Такой же звук is the same sound, когда она кончает, when she is coming. In the sexual part, okay? When she's moaning, pretty much. Хотя потом еще мычит, but afterwards she was also saying, не трожь, don't touch me. So maybe she was already kind of going with the friend and they still had sex, but then when it was all over, she says, не трожь, don't touch me. Я знал ее такой, I knew her like that. А раньше целой, but before that, I knew her whole. She was whole, she was solid, she was good. Но жизнь летит, but the life flies, забыв про тормоза, just going so fast without brakes. И я возьму еще бутылку белой. And I'll take another bottle of white. Maybe white wine. White can be called also vodka, white, kind of clear alcohol. Она на цвет, как у нее глаза. Because the bottle looks like her eyes, meaning the color. На цвет, in color, they're like her eyes. So this guy, his fiance left for his friend. They already have kids. And he's still thinking about those moments, sexual moments, not so sexual moments. Just miserable, just wasting his life away. Sad, but this poem paints a perfect picture of how a person might feel in that situation. Let's read it again. Каждый раз на этом самом месте я вспоминаю о своей невесте. Вхожу в шалман, заказываю 200. Река бежит у ног моих, зараза. Я говорю им мысленно, бежи. В глазу слеза, но вижу краем глаза литейный мост и силуэт баржи. Моя невеста полюбила друга. Я как узнал, то чуть их не убил. Но кодекс строг. И в чем моя заслуга? Что выдержал характер. Правда, пил. Я пил, как рыба. Если б с комбината не выгнали, то сгнил бы на корню. Когда я вижу будку автомата, то я вхожу и иногда звоню. Подходит друг, и мы базлаем с другом. Он говорит мне: «Как ты, Иванов?» А как я? Я молчу. И он с испугом: «Зайди!» — кричит, взглянуть на пацанов. Их мог бы сделать я ей, но на деле их сделал он. И точка, и тире. Я кричу в ответ: «На той неделе!» Но той недели нет в календаре. Рука, где я держу теперь полбанки, сжимала ей сквозь платье буфера и прочее. В углу на атаманке такое впечатление, что вчера маслы, переполняющие брюки, валялись на кровати, все в шерсти, и горло хочет громко крикнуть «суки!». Но почему-то говорит «прости». За что? Кого? Когда я слышу чаек, то резкий крик меня бросает в дрожь. Такой же звук, когда она кончает. Хотя потом еще мычит «не трожь». Я знал ее такой, а раньше целой. Но жизнь летит, забыв про тормоза. Я возьму еще бутылку белой. Она на цвет, как у нее глаза. That is all. Hope you've learned something useful here. And I'll see you all over at Befluent Camp. We are starting very soon. Join us with the first link in the description. And I'll see you all there. Learn with us. And more of this real Russian content there. Пока-пока.